Atk Smoke 4 and Spd Smoke 4 are really good slotsy skills which can open up new options for many units, and in this video we're going to be discussing these two skills and some good users of it. So smoke skills always trigger after the combat, that is the one thing which you have to keep in mind. Tier 4 smoke skills can now also debuff the target along with any kind of foes that are within 2 spaces of them, and it also provides the unit with a visible buff. In case of Atk Smoke, it gives them +6 resistance and defense, doubling down on their bulk, and with Spd Smoke 4 it provides them with +6 speed buff. And finally, these skills also give you an extra effect. So with Atk Smoke 4 you can get the follow-up negation effect, which is going to be amazing for many slower units and many tanks, and then with Spd Smoke 4 you can get the dodge status for 1 turn. Let's talk about Spd Smoke 4 first, and these smoke skills are mainly best used on units who have got a mixed phase build, so that they can initiate in the player phase, trigger the smoke skill, and then take advantage of it in the enemy phase. And this kind of dodge effect is usually going to be better on speedy units, ideally units who can have more than 55 speed in my opinion. That is going to be the benchmark that I personally use, and I know many people use as well. Being faster is always good so that you can get the max damage reduction, and it can also be a good option on many mixed phase units who want to have better bulk or can stack up more damage reduction. Because this is a premium skill, make sure to give this to a unit that you use a lot so that you can get the most value out of this investment, because Fallen Lilith herself is a really fantastic unit, and unfortunately she also has really good fodder in this skill. The dodge effect from this skill is going to be susceptible to Deadeye, Lethality, or any kind of other skills which can neutralize the damage reduction, so you have to watch out for those kinds of units. This is a good opportunity for a recap on how damage reduction skills can stack up. So damage reduction skills do not stack up additively, they stack up multiplicatively, which means that if you have 40% damage reduction with your weapon like legendary Dimitri does, and if he runs Spd Smoke 4, he's going to be able to get 64% damage reduction and not 80% damage reduction. Now every single unit who's not a healer can have access to these skills, so it is physically impossible for me to go over every single option, so I'm only going to be going over some good users. But if I do not mention a unit that you think can make good use of this skill, then make sure to leave them in the comments. So let us begin with some free-to-play options. Walhart is a really interesting free-to-play unit who has got a very strong weapon refine, and with Spd Smoke 4 he can take advantage of the flash effect that he gets in his player phase to safely apply this debuff on the enemy, and then in the enemy phase take advantage of the damage reduction at max investment. He can actually get pretty fast, so he can definitely use that, and he already gets the attack and defense debuff from his weapon, so Spd Smoke can further add to the relevant debuffs. It's worth noting that any kind of sword infantry unit can now run null follow-up with a lot less opportunity cost, as they can get damage reduction out of Spd Smoke 4 from their slotsy skill. So you can just run null follow-up to diversify your matchups and still take advantage of the damage reduction. In case of Marisa, she does have a -1 special cooldown that also has time pulse built into it, which means that she can stack up damage reduction of both her special and her slotsy skill for a total of 58% damage reduction. Yenfay is also a popular merge project, and even though he cannot reliably pre-charge his Vital Astra like Marisa, he can still have another layer of damage reduction along with his weapon to get overall 64% damage reduction even when Vital Astra is not fully charged up. And when it is charged up, he's going to be able to get 75% damage reduction. So this could be an option for a double solo skill mixed phase Yenfay. Legendary Dimitri has seen glow up in the recent times with the addition of Vital Astra, and now he can also have access to Spd Smoke 4, which can stack up even more damage reduction along with his weapon and Vital Astra for a total of 75% damage reduction. Now it does come at an opportunity cost of not being able to run time pulse to charge his Vital Astra, but with the help of his allies who can provide him the infantry pulse support, or someone like Duocrom who can pre-charge the special with his assist, and he can be a really strong unit for several game modes. Atrocity already has the debuff, so it is going to be a bit redundant, but Spd Smoke 4 is mainly used here for the damage reduction. With his high attack stat, he can go in and attack an enemy and one-shot them and simply get even more damage reduction and be a really scary unit to take down. Brave Alm at max investment is going to be able to reach high amounts of speed with his new weapon refine, and Brave Alm is also a very hard hitting unit just like legendary Dimitri, so he can go in with his wind sweep weapon refine and safely apply the Spd Smoke debuff on the opponent and get the damage reduction, and if he attacks twice then he can also pre-charge Vital Astra in his player phase, and then in his enemy phase he's going to be having damage reduction, which is going to be making him really annoying to take down. Brave Arm could be run with several builds, but this is definitely an option which he has got now. Ascended Mareeta can stack up even more damage reduction for the longevity, and she already has null follow-up in her weapon, so she can take advantage of her default spurn skill. Range units, especially flying range units, don't really have options to many skills, and a unit like Brave Claude, who depends on his healing and wants to be bulky, can make use of Spd Smoke 4 in his slot C so that he can take less damage and heal up the HP with his Wind Parthia. His weapon refine is going to be probably happening this year, so you could wait until then, but he's going to be one of the better users of Spd Smoke, especially with a max investment build. Flying units also do not have access to easy damage reduction, and a unit like Thea, who can be a big ball of stats with her new weapon refine, can also run a damage reduction build and basically function as a raid boss who has got a lot of stats, who has got the damage reduction and is also extremely fast. Spring Maria is one of the more deceptively bulky units because of the flat damage reduction that she gets from her weapon. The two different kinds of damage reduction do stack up here, but keep in mind that the damage reduction she gets from Spd Smoke 4 is always going to be counted first, and then whatever damage is going to be left of the opponent, it is going to be getting reduced further by the flat damage reduction of her weapon. So she can be really bulky as a mixed phase flyer. Legendary Marth is missing damage reduction from his kit, and at max investment he can be a truly obnoxious unit to face because of his new weapon refine and his binding shield 2, and with the healing that he's going to be getting from Mystic Boost, he can be a really strong tank. Unfortunately, this is going to be coming at an opportunity cost, similar to that of Legendary Dimitri, where he also wants to run Time Pulse so that he can have a one-turn Shining Emblem to trigger that in his player phase. But nonetheless, this is still going to be a really solid option for a max investment unit. For My Young Marth is a pretty popular merge project option, and with Vital Astra and Special Spiral, he can nuke really hard with his Vantage weapon, and the damage reduction that he gets from Spd Smoke 4 and Vital Astra can always help him in the matchups where he's not going to be one-shotting the opponents and then he has to take the damage from them, so it can help him with his longevity. Another Marth that can also make use of damage reduction is of course going to be Brave Marth. Same logic for him, if someone survives the Vantage hit out of his Genesis Falchion, extra damage reduction is always going to be there as a failsafe. Beast units and Dragon units don't have access to speed-based damage reduction, and Beast units don't even have any kind of Dragon Wall equivalent skill. A speedy Beast unit like Muarim is always going to be a pretty fantastic option at max investment. Adrift Corrins are also really good with their new weapon refines, and they already get the damage reduction on the first attack of the opponent, so they can stack up even more damage reduction with Spd Smoke 4 and be really bulky and retaliate back with their Luna. Summer Freyja is not only a beast unit but also a cavalier who doesn't really have access to the damage reduction skills, but she can stack this up with her weapon for having a bit better bulk, and she can function in the mixed phase with her binding necklace and the solo skills. Range units with decent bulk can always make use of the damage reduction skill from Spd Smoke 4, and an example of that is going to be Legendary Lucina, who not only has a Plagian weapon but can also debuff the opponent for their attack and defense with Future Vision 2, so she appreciates the debuff of speed, and because of the Plagian effect she can get a lot more bulky, especially with the damage reduction. Mail Morgan is also another Plagian unit, and he can also get truly really bulky with the Plagian effect and stacking the damage reduction on top of him. And one of the recent refines that we got is for Gharnef. He does have damage reduction against non-mage opponents with Imhulu, and he does have the Fire Sweep Tome essentially, so he can safely apply the debuff in his player phase and then take advantage of the damage reduction for his enemy phase. Looking at Atk Smoke 4, it is going to be appreciated by the mixed phase units and also by enemy phase units, as they do like this extra bulk and also the follow-up negation effect, and that's why it is going to be a pretty nice skill on a lot of slow tanks and even on a lot of fast cavaliers and flyers, because they do not have access to null follow-up. So this is going to be their way of stopping the auto follow-up attacks. And again, you should be investing this skill into a high investment or max investment unit which you use a lot, and this skill is susceptible to null follow-up or faster units who have guaranteed follow-up attacks, because even if your slow tank is running this skill, if the opponent is faster and they have an auto follow-up attack, they can still pierce through your follow-up negation and still double you. Null follow-up is present in many weapons and a lot of units like to run that skill. Null follow-up is present in many weapons and also really commonly run on many infantry units, so it is going to be annoying to Atk Smoke 4 users. So let us begin with some of the good users of this, and I'll start with some of the free-to-play units. And Lyon is one of those fan favorite units that can definitely make use of this skill because he's not the fastest and he does appreciate the follow-up negation effect. Unfortunately, his weapon doesn't really give him a guaranteed follow-up attack in the player phase, so his player phase power is kinda limited, but still he can run mixed phase options like the Unity skill and the Lull skill. A lot of ranged threats do have auto follow-up weapon, so Atk Smoke 4 is going to be helping you with that, and it's also going to be helping you against the speedy opponents who don't really have null follow-up. And a lot of the cavalry units which he's going to be facing as a Raven Tome user and as a ranged tank, they're not going to be having null follow-up many times, so Atk Smoke 4 can help you, and you can also run this on a tank like Garon. So he does get the guard effect from his weapon, and he also gets more bulk and attack, and when you combine Dragon Wall with Atk Smoke 4, you can definitely make use of the visible resistance buff that you can get from this, and you can also stop the follow-up attacks of the enemy. So overall, you can just increase your bulk by a lot and also have good synergy with the Dragon Wall skill. Julius is also another red mage who can run this skill, and he can run close reversal because of the fact that his weapon provides him with the Dragon Wall effect and also provides the attack debuff, and then he can stack it up with lull attack resistance. So he can take on the melee opponents because of all of those things combined. And Atk Smoke 4 does help you if you're not running a speedy Julius, and the attack debuff will stack up with the in-combat debuff that he provides with Loptus, and again, because he has got the Dragon Wall in his weapon, he does appreciate the visible buff. You can also run these skills on faster flyers and cavalry units because they don't have access to null follow-up. Here we have got a max investment female Grima, and as you can see with this weapon refine and a remix, she basically gets plus 10 to all of her stats, so she can make amazing use of Dragon Wall. And instead of running speed resistance rain, you can run Atk Smoke 4 so that she can stop the auto follow-up enemies from doubling her, and because of her natural speed as it is, she's going to be able to stop the opponents from doubling who do not have any kind of auto follow-up. So this does work out pretty well on these faster units as well, and it does not have to be restricted just to some slow units. With this build, she has got distant counter, guard effect, being able to ignore the visible buffs of the opponent, getting the damage reduction with Dragon Wall, and also the follow-up negation with Atk Smoke. So definitely quite a package. And again, to illustrate my example, here we have another unit who has got a recent weapon refine in Selkie. So this effect does go really well with her weapon refine, which does provide her with a dual phase flow guard. So she gets the partial null follow-up from her weapon refine, and then she can stop the auto follow-up attacks of the enemies by having Atk Smoke 4. And these kinds of cavalry beasts do have the follow-up negation in the player phase as it is, so it's really easy for them to safely apply this effect and take advantage of this in the enemy phase. Selkie's weapon does have the visible resistance check, so again, you're going to be making productive use of the resistance buff. Summer Freyja is seen here because I just want to illustrate my point that a lot of units can make use of Speed Smoke 4 and Atk Smoke 4 both. It really depends on what you're trying to go for. A lot of people love stacking up the damage reduction, so that's why I mentioned her over there, but I feel like she makes use of the Atk Smoke 4 a bit better than Speed Smoke 4. The reason being is that she already has damage reduction in her weapon, and with Binding Necklace and her mixed phase playstyle, having Atk Smoke can really help you against the auto follow weapons, which Freyja, usually will struggle against. All of these units have that weakness, and these fast units can also make the productive use of Atk Smoke 4. You can also run this skill on auto follow-up units like Duessel, and he is really bulky as a Lance Cavalier, and this just goes incredibly well with his playstyle, stopping the follow-up attacks and just doubling down with those debuffs and also getting the extra buffs to his bulk. You can also run this on a Plagian weapon, or I guess a Vulture weapon on Arete. So Arete is also a popular merge project, and with the Vulture weapon, the attack debuff is going to be helping you, and for tanking it is also going to be helping you. We also have Halloween Sophia, who is a flying mage, and even though it is not going to be as consistent as a rain skill, it is still going to be helping you with a tank build, especially on a slower mage. You can also use the skill on someone like Legendary Ephraim, because not only he's going to be taking advantage of this skill in the other game modes, but also in Arena, it is going to be acting as a 300 space slotsy skill, which is going to be helping you score. You can also use this with Legendary Sigurd, and it is coming at an opportunity cost because Pulse Smoke is actually a really good skill for slotsy of Legendary Sigurd. But Atk Smoke can make him annoyingly bulky because when he's going to be initiating, he's going to be getting that damage reduction, so it's pretty easy for him to survive and inflict this debuff on the enemy and then get the follow-up negation and also debuff the opponent heavily and then survive in the enemy phase. Something like this could be run in Summoner Duels as well, but again that opportunity cost is going to be there with the Pulse Smoke, which is also amazing for taking on a lot of the pre-charged special teams and hardy fighter armor units and just pulsing them down. Still an option nonetheless. A unit like Micaiah, who does have an auto follow-up weapon, she can let go of running null follow-up in her slot B and instead just run lull attack resistance. So with Atk Smoke, she's going to be stopping the enemy's follow-up attacks, and she herself can make a follow-up attack with her weapon Refine. If you want to use this on a purely enemy phase unit, then someone like Tiki could work out, and Lantern Breath is pretty amazing for providing extra attack and extra bulk, and also the guard effect. So Dragon's Ire and Atk Smoke does have good synergy because Dragon's Ire allows you to retaliate back to opponents who have the follow-up negation effects. So against the units who have got Sturdy Impact, Mirror Impact, stuff like that, she's still going to be able to double them, and then she can stop the follow-up attacks with the Atk Smoke 4. You can also use this on a unit like Loki, who is a flyer, but still she wants to run some kind of skill which can give her the visible debuffs because of the Plagian weapon. And again, someone like Loki is fast and she doesn't have access to null follow-up. Like the Fortress skill is the best skill that she can run for her slot B, so that's why she does appreciate stopping the auto follow-up enemies. Arson is the free-to-play Lance Cavalier, and there are just so many free-to-play units who can run Atk Smoke because they are very slow and they would definitely like to have this kind of effect. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps her tremendously, and make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to fodder off a unit for Atk Smoke 4 or Speed Smoke 4. This video should definitely help them, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member down below. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as their damage reduction against Deadeye and Lethality. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.